Okay, part of the question that has been asked there with the 8-week assessment, you need to be able to sketch the graph of a parabola. Okay, so parabola, how to sketch the graph of a parabola. Firstly, the parabola, it is in the form of y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So it's the other name for parabola, it's quadratic function. Okay, so you can read more about that on page 153. Okay, for an example, you are given y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. We need to sketch this graph. But before we can sketch this graph, there are characteristics and steps that we need to follow. So it says if a is greater than 0, you will have a shape like this, so we call it smiley face, this one. And then if your a is less than 0, greater than 0, it means your a is positive. And then if your a is less than 0, it means your a is negative. You're going to have a sad face. Okay, so with this one, as you can see here, the value of a is the coefficient of x squared. So the coefficient of x squared is positive 1. So we're going to have a smiley face graph here. Okay, another thing that we need to do, step number 2, y-intercept. We must calculate the y-intercept by letting x be equal to 0 and then solve for y. Step number 3, x-intercept, we let y be 0 and then solve for x. Last point, turning point, we must calculate the turning points. The turning points are made up of x and y coordinates. So how to calculate the x value of a turning point? On the formula sheet, this formula is given. You must use this formula so as to not to be confused. So it says x is equal to minus b over 2a. So minus b, you are going to identify, let's say the equation that has been given is y is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 8. I'm making an example. So the value of a is this coefficient. This is ax squared, people. Oh, sorry, let me not do like this. So this equation is in a form of y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. I know you already know what I'm doing. So the coefficient of x squared is 1. So if you must identify your a is 1, your b is 6, your c is 8. Can you see? This is how you do. First, you must identify so that these values you can substitute into this formula. More especially the value of b and the value of a. B, how to calculate the y value of a turning point? You are going to substitute the x value of the turning point into the original equation. Then lastly, what do you need to do? You must sketch the graph. Now let's come to the example that has been given. It says sketch the graph of y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. Firstly, what will be the shape of the graph? Because a is greater than 0, so it means the shape of the graph that we're going to have, it's a smiley face graph like this. Okay, so step number 2, we must calculate y-intercept. Y-intercept, we must let x be 0. Okay, in this equation, y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. Whenever we see x, we put a 0. Plus 2 of 0 minus 3. So what is an answer? Y is equal to minus 3. What does that mean? It means the coordinates of the first point that we have here, when x is 0, y is negative 3. This is the point that we're going to draw on the graph. Then the third step, or the second step, we must do calculate the x-intercept. X-intercept, we must let y be 0 and then we solve for x. So the equation is given as y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. Then in place of y, you put a 0. 0 is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. If you can't solve this, you find it difficult to calculate here, you can use quadratic formula, but you must first identify your A is equal to 1, your B is equal to 2, your C is equal to -3. Then you can use the quadratic formula that says x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Remember, a is the coefficient of x squared, which is equal to 1. So you can use this formula. You need not to make some errors. Rather, use the formula if you don't know how to calculate the values of x. Okay, now without using a formula, we can do like this. We've got x squared plus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. We just swap, this one comes to this side. We are swapping, we are not taking it over, but we are swapping. We start with the x squared plus 2x minus 3, then this 0, put it that side. Okay, then we open up 2 brackets is equal to 0. For x squared is x and x. Then we want 2 numbers. When you multiply, they give us -3. The same numbers when you add, they give us 2. For 3, the factors of 3 is 1 times 3. But now this is -3. It means another number here must be negative, another number must be positive. Which number is going to be positive? The bigger number is going to be positive. Why? Because the middle term is positive. So the bigger number is going to be positive. Why it is positive? Because the middle term is positive. So the smaller number here is going to be negative. Okay, so what does that mean? We've got -1 and a +3. -1 plus 3, the answer is give us +2. So it means these are the factors that we have, this -1 and +3. So we've got x minus 1 and x plus 3. Now let's solve for x. Okay, let's clean this one. So we've got x minus 1. We've got x minus 1 is equal to 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0. X is equal to +1, or x is equal to -3. So what does that mean? All in all, it means we've got x is equal to 1 when y is equal to 0. And also we've got x is equal to -3 whilst y was equal to 0. So these are other points on the graph, okay, that we are going to have. So the step that follows is the turning point. The turning point is made up of x and y values. Okay, so how to calculate the x value of a turning point? The formula is given on the formula sheet. It says x is equal to minus b all over 2a. Remember, we said our a is equal to 1, then b is equal to 2, and then c is equal to -3. Okay, let me, yes, a is 1, b is 2, c is -3, but we only want the value of a and the value of b. So x is equal to minus bracket, what is the value of b? Is +2, divided by 2, what is the value of a? It's 1. X is equal to, what is -2 over 2 times 1? The answer is -1. Okay, so we've got the value of the turning point, x value of the turning point, excuse me. The x value of a turning point is -1. So how are we going to find the y value of a turning point? So the y value of a turning point, how are we going to calculate? We are going to substitute the x is equal to -1 into the original equation. Okay, the original equation was given as y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. So in place of x, we're going to substitute -1. So y is equal to negative 1 squared plus 2 of negative 1 minus 3. Okay, so you can use the calculator, straightforward. Then the answer at the end is going to be y is equal to negative 4, because negative 1 squared is a positive 1. Then positive 1 minus 2 minus 3, the answer is minus 4. So what does that mean? It means the turning point that we have is the x value is negative 1, and then the y value of the turning point is negative 4. Okay, so now we can be able to sketch a graph. So the Cartesian plane, you are going to redraw it yourself using a ruler. So you check first what are the highest points. Okay, let me, before I draw our Cartesian plane, we said initially we've got this point. Okay, let's call this point let's start with the first point. Let's call the first point is A. So it was about the y-intercept. X was 0, then y was negative 3. The second point, x was 1, whilst y it was equal to 0, and also the second point, x was negative 3, whilst y was 0. Then the third point is about the turning point, where it turns. So we said x is negative 1 and y was equal to negative 4. So we've got these points, 4 points on the graph. Okay, now let's draw the Cartesian plane. So what is the highest number? Ignore the sign in the x value. So in the x value, the highest number is 3. Ignore the negative sign. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, maybe up until 4. Okay, these are x values. This on the positive side. On the negative side is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and then negative 4. Then what is the highest number on the y value? It's, ignore the sign, it's 4. So you've got this side negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, maybe up until negative 5. So these are our y. Then the side is going to be positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 4, and then positive 5. Okay, so this is 3. Okay, now let us plot the points. The first points that we're going to plot, when x is 0, y is negative 3. So this is the point. Okay, let me use a red pen. So this is the point. The next point, when x is equal to 1, y is 0. Then the other point, when x is negative 3, here, y is equal to 0. And then the turning point, when x is equal to negative 1, y is equal to negative 4. So this is the turning point. The turning point, because it's going to be a smiley face, so the turning point is going to have a shape like this. Okay, so this graph is going to cut this, and then it turns here at the turning point, and then it's going to pass okay, this point. Cut this point. Okay, let me make it a little bit here. Okay, so we've got this point where they meet together at negative 1 is to negative 4, and then it goes and cuts this one. So this is our turning point. We can label TP is negative 1 is to negative 4. This one, x is 0, y is negative 3. This one, x is 1, y is 0. This one, x is negative 3, y is 0. What is this graph? This is a graph of This is the graph of y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3, the labeling. Thank you. So that is it. So we did not to show all the calculations because the question is asking us to sketch the graph. So you do your calculations aside, and then what is it that you bring on into the answer book is the graph. Okay, thank you for that.